Afghanistan is about the size of France. To the north, it shares southern frontiers with the former Soviet Union. To the southwest, it has a common border with Iran, while its eastern frontiers are with Pakistan. Known as the crossroads of Asia, Afghanistan is the meeting place for four ecological and cultural areas: the Middle East, Central Asia, the Indian subcontinent, and the Far East. Islam spread to the region by the mid-7th century AD and remains an important element in the life of Afghanistan's 15 million people. Mountains called the Hindu Kush dominate the scenery of Afghanistan. The country has jagged, snow-covered massives at its heart, softly rounded hills protecting fertile valleys, vast steppelands, forests, and a wide variety of deserts. The Afghans themselves are a gaggle of ethnic nationalities who all share the same insolence of harsh freedom set against a backdrop of rough mountains and deserts. The country's turbulent history is punctuated with the exploits of conquerors, invaders, and explorers, from Alexander the Great to Queen Victoria's armed forces, and from Genghis Khan to the Red Army. The more than 15 years of war since the Soviet invasion in 1979 have virtually devastated Afghanistan. The war has destroyed villages, pastures, livestock, infrastructure, and above all, its people. 1 million people have been killed. Hundreds of thousands are disabled or maimed. More than 10 million landmines have been laid, one mine for each Afghan. The world is now littered with an estimated 100 million anti-personnel landmines in 64 countries, which kill or maim an estimated 500 people every week, mostly innocent civilians. Afghanistan ranks among the top 3 mine-infested nations in the world. Mines are found in all areas of the country, in urban and rural areas, near water wells and irrigation canals, on roads, in schoolyards, and in agricultural land. Each day, there are 20 or more mine incidents involving Afghan civilians, amounting to approximately 8,000 incidents each year. Half of the victims die, and the remaining become disabled. 2 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan and Iran wait to go home, but the danger of landmines contributes to their inability to return. Mines represent the most cruel and indiscriminate obstacle to the return of normal life in Afghanistan, and they will remain a significant hazard in many parts of the country for years to come. Landmines cannot distinguish between the footfall of a soldier and that of a child. Children comprise 30% of the landmine victims in Afghanistan. They are particularly vulnerable to landmines because they are children. Their work as shepherds, water carriers, and collectors of firewood tend to take them into areas that are often mined. They are less likely to see landmines than adults because they are shorter. Their play becomes deadly when they pick up a mine of curiosity, make up games that involve landmines, or run and change direction quickly without paying attention to their whereabouts. They are much more likely to die as a result of injuries sustained in a mine explosion. Their vital organs cannot sustain the damage caused by fragments in the way that a more adult body can. Afghanistan today represents a worst-case landmine scenario, a nightmare of uncertainty and death, as a result of massive use of these blind, indiscriminate, and hidden killers. 90% of their victims in Afghanistan are civilians. Fatima is a young woman and the mother of 3. She stepped on a landmine when collecting firewood close to Balahisar, an old fortress in the outskirts of Kabul. Her left leg was blown off, and her body has sustained grave injuries from metal fragments. Roxana is an experienced operating nurse at the hospital of the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, in Kabul. Shot wounds from Kalashnikovs or other handheld weapons are all right. We can also live with grenade splinters and fragments from rockets. Mines are different, though. Injuries from mines are the worst. It's real shit. The ICRC treated as many as 50 mine-related casualties each day in Kabul during the spring of 1995. Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, home for 1.5 million people, and once a historical and beautiful city, now destroyed by war and especially treacherous for children at play. Mines are commonly found inside residential areas, in footpaths or roadways, in doorways and corners of abandoned houses, and along walls of buildings. Signaling minefields. Whereas children in rural areas are exposed to landmines while working as shepherds and collectors of firewood, children in Kabul are usually exposed to mines while playing close to their home. Miners had identified 22 square kilometers of mined area in Kabul. Of those, 10 kilometers are situated inside residential districts. 1,000 mines per square mile has turned up inside the city. Dogs that can sniff the explosives are necessary to locate these Chinese-made plastic mines. Like all mines, they are designed to kill or maim their victims in the worst possible way. Is a brave girl. Only semi-conscious when brought into the operation room, she still has the strength to ask for some painkillers, for something that can put her to sleep. The mine blast took place on Monday, the 18th of September, when she played with friends in her own neighborhood. Dr. Abul Sattar starts to cry when removing Nurhaya's bandages. Her wounds are nothing but infections. There is no hope. Her mother has been watching over her daughter's bed for 2 weeks. Does she know? No. We never tell the family. Our people are very religious. It all depends upon the will of Allah. If Allah wants her to die, she will die. If Allah wants her to live, she will live. But she will die, says Abul Sattar. Those who survive the initial blast usually require amputations, long hospital stays, and extensive rehabilitative service. Waliullah is a shepherd and a survivor. I herded our sheep. The grass was high and I couldn't see the mine. I fell when it blasted, but it didn't hurt. My parents brought me to the hospital where the doctors cut off my leg. I don't know what to do now. I can never walk with the sheep anymore, says Waliullah. Hashmatullah is only 12 years old, but has big, strong arms and hands because he has no legs. He is the oldest among his siblings, but also the shortest. For 2 years he has been dependent upon good friends to take him to school in his wheelchair and upon his mother and sister to help him with his daily tasks. But Hashmatullah is determined to become self-reliant. He studies hard in school, is full of energy, and does not isolate himself from friends, his family, or other relatives. Although millions of mines are present throughout Afghanistan, they can be avoided. Children and adults can, to a certain degree, learn how to live with the menace that mines pose to themselves and to their community. A common misunderstanding may be that people who live in a mine-affected area may know everything that's to know about landmines. This is not so. Muhammad Anan picked up a landmine and played with it before he hit it with a rock. Didn't he know it was dangerous? Yes, but not that dangerous, he screams. The doctors say he will lose his right hand and both eyes. Save the Children of the USA will now implement a landmine education program that will target Kabul city schools. 270,000 children will be taught awareness and avoidance of landmines and skills that will influence their decision-making and behavior with regard to working and playing in or near potential minefields. The creation of 12 playgrounds will provide the participants in the program with safe and sensible alternatives to potentially injurious and life-threatening activities. Mine victims will be employed as mine education facilitators. Returning refugees will be given special attention in displacement and transit camps in Afghanistan and at encashment points in Pakistan. The psychological wounds in war are unmeasurable. The landmine education program will be but one important component in the Save the Children's overall strategy for reaching children in war. Jilla and her sister are only 2 of the 1.5 million children that have been killed in wars during the last decade alone. Hit by a rocket when buying bread in a Kabul market. For them, there is nothing more to do. But the survivors can be helped. During war, children still need food. They need health care, clean water, shelter, and clothing. They still need education and help in understanding what is going on around them. Mines may be described as fighters that never miss, strike blindly, do not carry weapons openly, and go on killing long after hostilities are ended. Muhammad Anam is but one of their victims. A splinter has penetrated the left half of his brain. As the evening progresses, the fever rises and the oxygen supply to his body has to be increased. His father and grandfather sit at the side of the bed, but the next morning the bed is empty. Muhammad Anam died at 2200 last night, says Dr. Saeed.